Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Nancia Leath, and I am so excited about this Raw Stories. This Raw Story, we have two amazing women who are thriving in life. Our first person is Micaiah. Let's bring her on. Hi, Micaiah. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Nancia. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's an honor to have you. She's over there in New Jersey, and the sun is still shining behind her, which is beautiful. Tell us a little about yourself.
A little background about myself is so I'm a California girl who has transplanted to the East Coast, and I have been in athletics for over 20 years. 15 of those years have been working as an athletic trainer in college athletics and just side by side. So those of you who don't know what an athletic trainer is, when you're watching a football game or something like that, and an athlete gets injured, and you see the guy run out in the khaki pants to see if he's okay, that's me. So we go out there on the field and we check to make sure they're okay. But then off the field, we're evaluating their injuries. We're working side by side with physicians to see what the diagnosis is, and then working in many cases as a physical therapist or with their physical therapist to rehab these athletes, get them back on the field, and get them back in action. So we do that with injuries. We do that as well as just looking and evaluating them every day when they come in, to see if there's just a way that we can train them as far as to make them more effective, whether it's to make their stride length more effective, or to make their vertical jump more effective, and working with their strength and conditioning trainer. So we are their kind of center core of making them athletes as healthy and as well-rounded and as efficient as they can, and reducing their risks of injury in the future. So
Wow.
that's a little bit about my business side of things.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I'm a mother of two.
yeah.
I have two two under four. I have a 10-month-old and a almost 4-year old.
Wow.
Um, and I've been married now for 5 years. We've been together for 10, 11 years and married for five. So yeah, that's just a quick little about me.
Thank you so much, Micaiah, for telling us a little about yourself. What started you to want to do what you do? How did you know you want to, work in the field?
It started with me being an athlete. I was an athlete at heart, but never good enough to be like a big time college athlete. So I did college sports and junior college in California.
Hmm.
And then just loved what I did. My dad is a chiropractor, so I had a little bit of that kinesiology and biomechanics in my blood. And growing up, my dad teaching me. So, and my dad being a chiropractor was an entrepreneur himself. He owned his own practice. So that was in my blood, even though I didn't realize it was in my blood till the entrepreneur piece till I got much older. And I just loved athletic training and wanted to get into that, and figured if I hated it, then I could become a high school PE teacher as my fallback. But I have continued to grow and build, and have been in college one sports for 15 years. So I've really enjoyed it.
So, how are you
Yeah.
now making it as a business? How are you an entrepreneur doing that?
Yeah. So I am still working within the college, but what I'm doing as a business is I see so many young athletes get to college at 18 years old or even in high school. And these athletes, because sports has become so, I guess, so much pressure in sports, even at a young age. These athletes are specializing in sport at a really young age, and they're getting to high school and college with injuries that 20 years ago you didn't see until they were graduating college. So they're
Right.
having season ending and career ending injuries before they ever make it to their college scholarship, their college or high school even.
Yeah.
And I realize it's because they're not building a strong athletic foundation. So I wanted to come in and say, let's get these kids when they're very young. Let's help their parents and their coaches know how to provide an efficient platform for them. How can they build a strong athletic foundation for these kids to limit injuries? People don't realize, but I'm not going to compare the pandemic, but another pandemic we have going on in this world, or epidemic, is 1.3 million kids go to the emergency room every year for youth sports injuries.
Really?
So yes. So whether those are because they need to go, or also because parents don't know what's wrong. So let's educate. Let's educate to reduce the risk of those injuries occurring, and educate parents for if maybe they don't need to be going to the emergency room for some of those injuries.
Right.
So education across the board, build a strong athletic foundation when they're young so they can thrive and succeed as they get older. So I want to reduce that emergency room visitation by at least 10%. That's my goal with my business. And my second goal is just I'm a mom. I want to be the best mom I can be. So I want to help as many people as I can with my business while helping my kids. And I'm excited because they literally get to grow as little athletes in
Yeah.
this business with me as I grow it. So I'm very excited about that. And I just want to help and reach as many people. I want to change the world of youth sports with this business.
Wow. How will you encourage? Because before I even go to that question, today earlier we had at 2 o'clock we had workout. We had Coach D doing workout, and she had two of her kids with her, which was amazing. It was doing exercises. How
Mhm.
will you encourage parents, especially right now? A lot of them may not go to camp because of Corona, and doing exercise and make sure incorporating physical activity. How will you encourage them to do that in the homes today?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different levels there where you can start. I mean, if you have toddlers like I do, it's just get out for a daily walk, go for adventure walks, get them outdoors, let them explore. There's so much activity in that. I mean, my son will chase squirrels all day long outside, you know what I mean? So get them outside and let them explore. Make it fun, make it adventurous, make it discovery for the young, for the real littles. As they get older, incorporate what they were doing in their sport. If you're a parent that, let's be honest, some kids play a sport that a parent's not that into, but we support our child. Reach
Right.
out to the coaches. All
Yeah.
of these coaches are home and they have activities. So reach out to your coaches and see, do they have any workouts? Do they have any advice of things you could be giving your kids? If there's some skill work that they want to work on. But another thing is I talk about athletic foundations and I talk about, just good nutrition, good hydration, and getting out for that 60 minutes of activity a day. So right now, that's
Mhm.
the biggest thing. And the coolest thing about that is you can do that as a family because
Right.
every kid is just a little athlete, whether they want to play chess or whether they want to dribble a basketball. They're still a little athlete. Their bodies function the same. They need to prepare and recover for their day and their sport all in the same way. So do nutrition, do hydration challenges. How much water can everybody drink in a day? Get them out there for activity and do it as a family. If you're doing fitness classes as a parent, your kids are always watching. They're going to get down on the floor and try to do push-ups and sit-ups and everything with you. So just encourage them to be a part with you, regardless of what you're doing, and experience and let them dictate as well. Hey, Dad, let me show you how to throw a ball. Hey, Mom, let me show you how to shoot a basketball. So get out there and just explore and have fun together at the very least.
And right now today, how will you encourage parents to help their children to stay hydrated? Because right now, even youth, they may like say, I don't want to drink anything unless it's, something sugary drink. But parents right now are trying to encourage them to drink more. How can you encourage moms today or even fathers today to
Mhm.
help their children maintain hydration?
Yeah, so it's funny. I created a little activity workbook, and one of the pieces in that workbook was the hydration challenge. So it's a chart, so you can make a chart where you're drinking off the water. People don't know, but most people, regardless of the age, should drink half of their body weight in ounces in water. So if you weigh 100 pounds, 50 ounces of water is how much you should drink in a day, right? It's just a simple, easy way to do it. So make a little challenge, who's drinking what, and make there be a little prize at the end of the day or the end of the week for whoever won that competition. And then there's so much fruit out there right now. I take all the leftovers from our fruit. I take the core from our pineapple. If I eat a peach, I just take the seed and the leftover piece on the inside, and I throw that in some water.
That's smart.
Freeze your fruit, freeze your strawberries, freeze your grapes, all of that stuff to add flavor to your water. And then also, if you're trying to get them to drink water, exactly. I do it for mommy's drink too. I put my frozen pineapple in mommy's drink too. So don't worry. Um, but the other thing too is start slow. So if you have a kid who loves sugary drinks, just start cutting their drink, with a quarter water. And then as they get used to that, cut it with half water and
Mhm.
eventually just kind of ease them off of it because something is better than nothing. If you
Yeah.
can get them, you got to start somewhere. So if they're not going to drink water, but they're going to drink half water, half apple juice, Start and meet them halfway, and then kind of ease into it.
Right. That's awesome. If you also, I noticed you started off saying one of your goals was to decrease children going to the emergency room at least by 10%. What can
Hmm.
parents do to help with that process?
That's so funny. So that's exactly what my whole business is going to be about. It's going to be about just injury awareness and injury prevention and building this foundation. The number one thing they can do is start getting your children active, build healthy nutrition, get them active, build good hydration, because that builds a good, strong core as a person,
Mm,
for your body to function. The healthier you are, the more hydrated your body is, the more energy and proper nutrition you have, the less your body is likely to get injured, because your body can prepare and protect itself as it's going out there and steps too far or whatever. If your muscles are hydrated, you're less likely to strain them and pull a hamstring and things of that nature. So in the kitchen, in the house, that's the best way to start. The second way is just to ask questions if you don't know. Go on there and look something up if you don't know. I know sometimes Google and everything can seem overwhelming, but throwing ice on that injury, or taking a moment to calm the athlete down or the kid down and assess the situation
mm,
before just rushing to the emergency room. That's the best way to do it. And preparation. So I would say nutrition in the kitchen, and then preparation. Even with my little one, he's almost 4 years old.
mm.
He wakes up, we do our morning stretches, and we do our nighttime yoga. So he's getting stretched, he's
Yes.
getting relaxed. He does his
Take it.
loops of breathing at 4 years old. I wish I had a picture of it right now because it's the cutest thing. But wake him up in the morning. We have like a little flip chart of our morning routine. Again, he's 4, he's not 10. So,
Right.
but, and, you know, stretching is one of those things. Hey, we brushed our teeth, we did this, and we're going to do our 5 stretches. At night, mom, can I do my tree pose? Like, can I do my breathing? So do those things, because you're building healthy habits to limit their chance of injury in the future. Proper nutrition, proper hydration, proper preparation, proper recovery. And it's fun, and it's a family affair. And let's be honest, as moms, we're always looking for time.
Mhm.
I'm super guilty of this. We're always looking for time to take care of ourselves,
Right.
properly nutrients for ourselves, getting workouts in.
Mhm.
Don't Right now, with all of us working from home, the stress of not having daycare and everything else, don't try to find more time. Make the time together. Just get out there for a walk with your kid, do push-ups, do jumping jacks, do a TikTok video and
Yeah.
dance your butt off. Like, do something with your kids, and that's going to be you taking care of yourself for them, and you building good habits for them as well.
I love it. I guess I'm gonna bring closure now with our wonderful conversation because honestly enjoying the content. If a person wanted to use your services, they have young kids or even
Hmm.
teenagers, and they know, I guess, start at a young age, they know their child most likely will play football or, basketball or any sports. How will you encourage that family to start that child and what they need to do in order with that process? And how can they use your services as well if they wanted to
Yeah.
hire you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. In general, the best way to do it is all of our kids build motor skills and coordination at a young age. And this is one thing that my website will be going live in the next about 3 weeks. So it's still like I'm still launching. It'll be live in about 3 weeks, but we'll have this content on there. Is understanding your child's maturity level, your athlete's maturity level. There is general ages on all of these websites for when your child is ready for t-ball and football and these different sports, but also understanding the motor skills and the coordination that goes into these sports. And different kids mature at a different level as far as cognitive too. Can they remember the plays? Can they do all of that? So I'll have all of that. Actually, I have all of that broken down within the website to help you do that. But I think the biggest thing is be aware of what your kid is capable of, not what you want your kid to be capable of. And don't be scared. Also, be willing to let your kid try a little bit. It's okay if they, bump a knee. There's a difference between letting them just kind of get hurt because
Right.
they're trying, and getting injured and being really, having something wrong. So, but definitely be aware of your child's ability. Secondly, as far as my services go, my business is called Blue Jay, Blujae Synergies, because I think everything in life is synergistic, including the body. And so I'll have a membership website set up, and right now it's I'm launching, so it's going to be running for $10 a month with a ton of content on it.
Wow.
And I'm doing a 1 week introductory for free, so you can have 1 week access to the website for free, and we'll have stretching videos and exercise videos and anatomy content for, explaining what the doctor says, but what does that mean to us? What the
Good.
doctor says they sprained their ankle, but what does that mean to me? What is an ankle sprain? And breaking it down so that we can understand it as moms and kids. So yeah, I'll have all that information, and I'll be happy to share it with you. It should, like I said, it should be live within the next 2 to 3 weeks with all of the membership website and content.
Wow, that's awesome. And your theme of your conversation is don't give up. How can parents encourage their youth not to give up if that they do end up hurting themselves, but at the end of the day they are talented? How can parents encourage them not to give up, to continue on to be athletic?
I think first and foremost is just, leading by example and not giving up as parents in whatever it is we're doing, because they are watching us regardless, whether it's cooking dinner, whether it's going for a run or building our businesses, they're watching us every day. So I think first is example. And second is find something else for them to do. Don't let them wallow in that injury. They sprain their ankle. It doesn't mean they can't, be, if it's, an older kid, they could, still be shooting the ball with their hand. They could still be dribbling the ball, keeping a feel on things, working on other things outside of that injury. So just making sure that, you're keeping their spirits up and showing them that that injury and that moment in time does not determine who they are or who they'll be, but how they react to that and how they bounce back from that moment is going to dictate how they grow and how they develop in sport, more so than the injury itself.
Wow, great. Thank you so much. That's great content. And I guess the last question I have for you, how you like to encourage the ladies that are watching, or anyone that are watching right now?
Yeah, to run with my theme is honestly just don't give up. I mean, I think if anything if we've seen anything recently, it's the way of the world and everything that's happened over the last 3 weeks and 3 months, is that you never know what the world is going to throw at you, what curveballs are going to be thrown at you. Not everybody's going to like you, not everybody's going to agree with you, but keep pushing through and keep going after your dreams. Surround you with people who support you. Surround yourself with people who see you. And strive to just reach those goals, and know that whether if your friends and your family don't support you, there's other women, there's other people out there who are going to. So keep pushing and find your tribe, so that like you say, so that you can thrive, because there are women out there, whether you know them or not, that want you to succeed. So keep pushing.
Yes, that's awesome, Micaiah. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
coming to
you.
stories and telling us what you do. And I look forward in learning more, gather your information and find a way for us to make sure we share it on Women Who Thrive. And you have a
Thank you
good
so
night.
much.
Oh,
You as well.
thank you. Wow, great conversation. The next person we have, I'm very excited. She's from Australia, Tani. It's been her on. I know I messed her name up, but I want her to pronounce it right because I've been calling her the wrong name for 18 years. How are you doing, lady? I am so happy that you are here. Please tell them your name because I already messed it up, but I want them to hear it the right way. Okay.
Well, my name is actually Tania.
Tania.
Tania, Tania. So you were right before.
Oh, yes.
But I call myself, I dropped the A, and I'm named after my bubu Tani, who is my mum's father. Okay. And I'm named after him, and his name's Tani, so they added an A. But living in Australia, everybody saw Tania, and they thought Tanya Walker, which is the most.
You're like, no, it's Tanya.
And that's just very classic. So when I got older and more comfortable in who I am, I was just like, no, that's my name. I need to just drop that so there's no confusion. So when you met me way back in New York, I was Tania with an A, but everyone pronounced it back home in Australia as Tanya.
Tanya, got it. Wow. So tell everyone a little about yourself.
Well, my name's Tani. I live in Perth, Australia. It's actually the morning right now. I'm a musician and a songwriter, and I also facilitate workshops for kids in music, and I work on community projects and events and festivals and that sort of thing.
Wow. And lately, a lot of things has been happening around in the world, and a lot of people talking about Black Lives Matter or different things that are happening in America. Today I brought you on today because I want people to know your experience living in Australia. Tell us a little about it, starting from a young age as well as an adult. How is it difficult being a brown lady or Black lady in Australia? Tell us a little about your world. We want to hear your story.
Well, I'd have to, yeah, like just even the name thing, people mispronouncing your name if you're a different ethnicity or if it's something different. It's, they won't take the time to even call you by your name. So, they tell you what your name was. So for many years, I was just fine with, okay, that's my name, Tanya Walker, which was never my name. And as I got older, it really started to grate me. And I got a bit more defiant and brave, and I didn't feel like it was my job to tell people or educate them. I'm originally from Papua New Guinea and the Pacific Islands, and I've been in Australia since I was 3 years old. My experience growing up here in Perth, actually, and in Alice Springs, which is in the Central Desert, where we have Uluru. Some people might know it as Ayers Rock, but it's known as Uluru to the native people there in the Central Desert. And I grew up in Perth and in Alice. And it was really a bit of a hard experience being just a brown kid, let alone a brown girl. There were things like not seeing representation, not having any black dolls on the shelves to buy, or only having one black doll that was there, always being almost like the token black girl, and having in primary school, oh, you're going to be Scary Spice because you're the black girl, and there's no other black pop stars or celebrities that anybody knew at the time, and that was the representation. And even then, nothing to the Spice Girls because I absolutely love them, but she was almost like a caricature of what a black woman was, with leopard print, the outfits and all of that sort of thing. So, but obviously as a child, you don't understand what that is. You can't really be what you can't see. And then I grew up in Australia. I've been here my whole life, and we have the Aboriginal people, the Indigenous community here, who are black people. They identify as black people. They have black skin. They are black people. And the mentality here is very much a colonial mentality. Captain James Cook came here in 1770. I'm going down a bit of a...
Good. This is good.
When he came, he declared Australia as terra nullius, which was no man's land, which wasn't true. The native people have been here for over 40,000, I think they were saying in the last study, 60,000 years.
Wow.
And they've been here living and thriving and surviving. And when Captain Cook came with the colonial mentality and all of the stuff that happened in history since then, so that's carried on. So, Indigenous rights and Aboriginal people still have to fight for recognition on their own land. And the way that that's affected me is that my sister-in-laws are Aboriginal, and so my nieces are Aboriginal, and I have Aboriginal family. And so just to see that, and growing up in like a white school and in suburbia, and having the other kids say things like, oh, look at that dirty coon, and those sorts of things, saying the N-word, saying all of these stuff. And I'd be like, that's wrong as a child. Oh no, you're not like that, Tan. You're not like those blacks. And it just, that sort of thing really stays with you, and you internalize that. So, you know, there were moments where I definitely should have spoken up and said something, but the way that you're treated here is almost like, and it's so ingrained in a societal way, that even if you do speak up about something, it's almost like, no, that doesn't happen. This isn't America. This is Australia. And then living in America, it was really funny. When I was living in the States, I felt so comfortable because it's like I knew where I stood, where you know, I had a personal incident. I'm a musician, and I had a personal incident in my industry where I'd called out somebody who'd done blackface, and just, you know, said it was wrong, actually called them up on the phone and had a conversation with them. And I said, look, you know, you do the genre. She was doing a soul. And I said, you sing in the soul genre, like that's really uncalled for. You should take that down. And instead of doing that, what had happened was she looked it up and she wrote a song about it and posted it, publicly. But what ended up happening was I got sort of ostracized from the community, from the industry that I'm in, because I'd spoken up about it. So I play on the original music scene, and I couldn't really play on the scene for a while. I ended up just doing cover shows and gigs, and then I had somebody who was, you know, part of that scene that spoke up on my behalf. But it still really wasn't dealt with internally. It took a lot out of me personally, and it really made me look at the industry that I'm in, the community that I'm in, and also the way that Australia treats people of colour. You know, I essentially, my livelihood was threatened because I was hurt by something, and I chose to speak up about it. And it kind of, like, for a while, it definitely showed me. I had, you know, I just thought, this is why there's so many sisters in my industry here, in the local industry, that don't speak up about these things. And now I understand why none of them supported me or said anything. They were like, sis, you know, that's really sad, but we got to kind of, that's our money. So that was really hard, especially coming from being in New York and having a mentor like Lonnie Plaxico and Michelle Carr, who are very strong people and gave me my history lessons on the African-American community and what was going on there. And so coming from that, it was really hard for me to sort of shut my mouth, essentially, quiet, which has kind of brought me back to this place that I'm at now. And, you know, I'm really glad that happened, because it really made me understand that, you know, I can either be quiet about it or I can say something about it, and that's it. I've said it. I've said my piece. I've made my peace with it. That was wrong, and it's not wrong for me to call that out. Especially, I have my nieces who, in my culture, they're my daughters. So I'm raising young Black women who are also Aboriginal women on their land, and so that's my sort of personal thing in my industry that happens here. They say that we have inclusivity and diversity in the music industry in Australia, but it is really not that way. There's certain space and platforms for artists and musicians. I've been asked before, why, you know, don't I sound more soul? What does that even mean? Like, someone would come to my show where they know they're going to hear my music and say, oh, that's great, but can you sing something more soul? You know, and it happens to a lot of us. I'm not the only one that's happened to, just in the music industry. And then going back to my nieces who are Indigenous, in Australia here, we have the thing called the stolen generation, which the South African apartheid system was based on, where they would take Aboriginal babies from their mothers who had 1 drop of white blood in them, and they would be raised in the mission by the Christian mission, and until they were old enough to go and work for white homes, essentially slavery. And that's still affecting people to this day, like the intergenerational trauma. My nieces have family members, you know, their grandmother and their grandmother, their great grandmother and their great grandmother were all part of the stolen generation. You know, you've got people in their 40s who were taken from their families. So when people say in our country, this is an American problem, why are we having Black Lives Matter protests? We had one a couple of weeks ago. Me and my husband went. I was so proud. There were 15,000 people.
Wow.
15,000 people here in Perth, Australia, standing together. And it was so multicultural and so beautiful because Australia is such a multicultural society. It was built on all of these different ethnicities and cultures that have come here. And then, you know, our Prime Minister said we shouldn't have these protests. We had no slavery here. There was no slavery. Let's not bring a US problem over here. But that's completely wrong. We have the Torres Strait Islanders who live here in Australia who are Melanesian people. Like me, I'm a Melanesian person from Papua New Guinea. And they were brought from the Pacific Islands to be slaves on the sugarcane plantations. And if you want to go and Google, I won't get into the history, but if you want to Google blackbirding in Australia, it was the Torres Strait Islanders came from, you know, being brought over as Pacific slaves to work on the sugar canes. And then you've got the generations that were left here. So you have these islanders, these Black islanders who live here, and this is their culture and this is their place. On June 3rd that just passed, we had Mabo Day, which was after Eddie Mabo, who was a Torres Strait Island man who commissioned the High Court and won to prove that Australia was not terra nullius, was not no man's land. And that was in 1992. But yet we don't have this as a national holiday. June 3rd is not a national holiday in Australia. But, you know, it would mean having to recognise that colonial history, having to recognise that this was an invasion. So that's the problem with Australia. This isn't things that I learnt at school. My mum's a history teacher. She knew all of this. But
okay.
This is things that, you know, I've learnt over time with further education. I actually left high school and went to Ab Music College to do my Cert 3 in music, which is an Aboriginal institution. And it was open to everybody, but my uncle, who's a Torres Strait Islander, he was there. So I went along with him and I learned a lot from being at Ab Music about the history of the Indigenous people. And then I ended up with Aboriginal nieces, and I've always grown up with Aboriginal family. But yeah, just if Australia can't even recognise that sort of history in the first place, then how can they understand what's happening now in the world? How can we understand the Black Lives Matter movement? How can, you know, Australian people, even my friends, be true allies if they don't understand the history? And I'm a stepmom to two white Australian children who are, that's my babies, you know. I've been with my husband for going on 10 years now. And to even try and raise them alongside, you know, my Aboriginal nieces, and they've all grown up together since they were 3. And, you know, how are they going to be good allies if in school they're not even taught the history, the colonial history themselves? How do you have that empathy and that understanding? And then it really carries on to the way that they treat immigrants and Australian people treat immigrants. And I'm essentially an immigrant myself. And it's, you see the colonial mentality, you know, even trickle down to children of immigrants being racist towards Indigenous children, yet they're, you know, they've migrated themselves as well. So they can't understand that, even though they themselves would have experienced racism and discrimination, because they're not taught And, it starts from education. So for me, my personal experience has been a direct result of that, a direct result of going to school with white children that didn't understand this history. So their parents don't understand this. So they just treat anything that's an other as an other. And a lot of that changed for me when I came over to America and started to see, and even having white people in America. It was crazy. A guy asked me out on a date, a white guy, when I was there, and said something like, oh, I'd never date a black woman. And I said, you live in America. Do you know how many, we're in a bar. There's so many black women around here, mate. And he goes, no, but you're not black. And I said, yes, I am. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. You know what I mean? So that's the same sort of thing that I found over there. But there's just such a proud sense of blackness in the States, I can go into a black hair salon. We only have one here. She's amazing. Ebony and Ivory Hair Salon in Perth City. She's incredible. Joanne Delavelle, and her story is amazing as well. She came from Africa, and she's the only place that I would go to get my hair done. But we have, she's a proper salon. So when I went to the States, she wasn't around then. And so just to go into a black hair salon was amazing for me.
Wow.
I'd never been to a black hair salon where people knew how to do my hair. So just to have access to that, the fact that I can take my girls to her to get their hair done, and, they're going to be fine. But I didn't have that. I didn't have black people on TV. Morning, Clint. Clint's from PNG. That's my one talk. Yeah, just that sort of, just not having representation ever in TV. There were no commercials that had black families or interracial families. My dad is white, and he raised me. Sorry, my cat and my dog are down here. I never saw families like us. I never saw interracial family, and I never saw people who had my siblings different shades than me, and there was never anything like that. So it was always feeling like another. And then living in Alice Springs which is Indigenous land, and it's got a very rich history in itself in Central Australia. We just closed climbing of the rock of Uluru because the native people have not wanted anyone to climb it. It's disrespectful. It's like climbing the Sistine Chapel. But people would come from all around the world and climb this, and there's footprints from all of the people who've climbed this amazing monument, and they were left there, and one of the elders was saying it looks like tears because the rock's been crying. So, the Uluru Statement just passed, and you're banned from climbing it. But it was incredible how many people flocked from around the world for one last chance to desecrate this monument. But that's just because of ignorance. No one knows the history.
Right.
And living in Central Australia was I was a teenager there, and I didn't fit in with the Indigenous kids, the Aboriginal kids, and I didn't fit in with the white kids. So I was just a bit of an other there as well. And that was a bit hard. So I think I had a bit of a different experience. My mum was very strong in culture. So I know my Papua New Guinean culture. The only thing I wish that I knew my language. So not being able to speak your native tongue, but then, speaking up about Black rights and all of these things, for me, it has been a bit of it's like, wow, I need to look at my own history. I need to take some trips back home and reconnect, especially with everything that has been happening in the world and over there. Like, we hear you, we feel you guys, and everything that's been happening. We've had rallies and marches, but it's really made us look at our own history, our own death in custody. We've had 400 plus death in custodies of Aboriginal people who are Black people, Black lives, in Australia since 1991, and they're just the documented cases, and no police arrests or anything like that. And hopefully that will stop. This will put all of this into light, and just a lot of systemic oppression from way back, but it affects all people of colour in Australia, I feel, especially non-Indigenous Black people, I think, should also really have a look at that as well, because we know that we've been treated a different sort of way, but there's always that sort of, but we can be separate. We're separate from that, but not really.
Right.
It becomes part of our own experience.
Wow.
Oh gosh.
No, that was good. No, I'm glad. Oh, this is so good. It's going to lead to the next question.
Talk to my husband at dinner time, and like, did you get it over with Nancia and all the ladies and women who thrive?
This is so good, because even with that, how did it affect you emotionally?
Oh, emotionally, gosh. And speaking of my husband's white. He's had a wife who's essentially, I felt like I've been grieving, watching everything that's unfolding, watching these videos, watching the video of George Floyd, all of these things, watching all of it, Aubrey, Breonna Taylor, and then it's made me reflect on what we have here. We've had Tanya Day, who is an Aboriginal woman who is a mother, and she died in police custody. And her children are still trying to fight for justice. And so it made me think of my Aboriginal nieces, like I said, they're my daughters. And it made me think, what happens to them if they're pulled over, by a police officer here in Australia? What happens to them if they're locked up? Who's going to come for them? Something really has to change, because no one's going to ask them, are you half Aboriginal? Are you this? Are you that? They're just going to see a Black girl, and an Aboriginal girl, essentially, which in this country is more of a target on your back than being just essentially a Black woman, a brown skin woman, or a person of colour. We're afforded some privileges here that Aboriginal people aren't. And that's also hard to watch. So seeing all of the world erupt and suddenly become woke and aware has been painful. It hurts. And I've had friends with the best intentions send me messages of, oh my gosh, look at this. This is awful. This has happened. What do you think of this? And these have been non-Black people, friends of color and white friends, but I've had to say, you can't send me this, because you're starting to wake up to this and you're starting to see it and become aware. But I've lived this in Australia. My family are living it. I've got family, who are incarcerated, who are Indigenous here, and there's just, it's a lot. So for them to go, oh my gosh, look at what happened to this person in America, and Black Lives Matter, and have you seen what's happening in the States? And it's like, have you seen what's happening in our backyard? Do you see what's happening here? So I was so proud when, that's the first sort of piece I had, to be honest, when we went to the rally. My husband went to the rally and there were 15,000 people there. It really was the first sense of peace, and it's been hard to talk to anybody. I actually reached out to you as well. And I said, I'm struggling emotionally with everything that's going on. It's so triggering. And also trying to find somebody to talk to has been hard. I've been trying to seek a, mental health therapist of color, or who's Indigenous. And I asked my GP, and she tried for 6 months, and she got me somebody else. And then it felt really traumatic to go and explain why I feel this way, and have to explain it over and over again for every session. And then I did my own homework, and it was really hard to find somebody. And then I was just saying to you, I reached out to somebody that I know professionally, who's a colleague of mine in the arts industry. And she was like, oh no, wait, did you not know that the, head of Indigenous psychology at the University of WA is a Black woman, and she's an Aboriginal woman? And I said, what? And she said, yes, I've got her number, I'll give it to you. And then she said, also, did you know that there's 44 Aboriginal clinical psychologists that are registered? And I said, what? And she said, yeah, there are all of these things, but I just didn't know it. Like my GP, I don't know if she just didn't know about it, but these resources that are there, and I'm not Aboriginal, so I would never try and take a resource that is for somebody else, but just to know that they're, and I can actually go and talk to a Black woman and say, can you lead me in the same way that I came to you? And say, can you lead me in the right direction? Because I need a little bit of healing right now in this situation, with everything that's going on, which it has been. And I think the whole world is feeling the same way. I think, well, I can't speak for every person, but I know that people who are close to me, people of color, white people and Black people, are feeling some sort of way. Something's changing. There's a shift. And being from an interracial family, having an interracial family myself, raising, interracial kids, our dinner conversations have been very interesting.
Wow.
My husband has been doing a lot of reading.
Wow.
And educating himself, because I've had to say, honey, I'm tired. Like, I love you, but I'm really tired. I don't want to talk about this or have to tell you about this. And it's not him. It just
right.
is. I said the same conversation with him that I'm having with friends that I've been friends with for years. So that's how it's been for me emotionally and personally. And that's I don't think you can get as raw as that.
This is good. That's what we want. That's why it's called Raw Stories. And with that, even how you able to talk about it and express to us how you feel. And I know by being an artist, you most likely, write songs to help you, being therapeutic. Do you mind sharing one of your songs?
I will. I've got my guitar here.
Yes.
All right. Right. I've got a song here. This is a song called Bridges Halfway. So I have social anxiety, ridiculous anxiety, and I'm a musician. I know it's crazy. Not with crowds, but hey. And this is a song about that and dealing with that. And it's called Bridges Halfway. I'm burning bridges halfway. Am I ever gonna change? And it's like everybody knows my insecurity grows, and then I'm doing it again, and I'm losing my own game. And it's like everybody knows, but am I ever gonna be the woman that he needs? Am I ever gonna be the woman that I need to be? And am I ever gonna stand, accept the love of a beautiful, beautiful man, and take his hand? Oh, love that flows abundantly from his heart, from him to me. Only thing that boxes sway is bitterness, hurt, and pain. And then I'm doing it again. And I'm losing my own game. And it's like everybody knows. But am I ever gonna be the woman that he needs? Am I ever gonna be, ooh, the woman that I need to be? Am I ever gonna stand, accept the love of a beautiful, beautiful man, and take his hand? And it's like everybody knows. Ooh, it's like everybody knows that I'm burning bridges. It's like everybody knows. Oh, they know. But am I ever gonna be the woman that he needs? Am I ever gonna be, ooh, the woman that I need to be? Am I ever gonna stand, accept the love of a beautiful, beautiful man, and take his hand? And ooh, they can see me, they can see me. And it's like everybody knows. And it's like everybody knows.
Wow, beautiful. I can feel it. Like,
Thank you.
wow. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think
Thank you so much for having me.
it's just an honor. Wow. Thank you so much. And thank you for waking up so early to share.
That's okay, no worries, anytime.
Wow.
You've been great.
And how would you like to even encourage the women on today? Just with your experience and many that are feeling the same thing you are feeling right now.
I really feel, just encouragement-wise, be brave, have courage. That's something I've been working on personally myself, is say yes to opportunities like this live stream right now.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. Lovely comments. And also, just take care of yourself. I think that's something that everyone needs to do, especially for all of the Black women in here who are feeling just a little emotionally fragile with everything that's going on, supporting our families and our sisters and brothers through what is really, I was saying to my husband, it's a grieving period. Just understand, I feel like I'm grieving. I have felt like that. It's getting better. Just take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Take the time. Turn social media off. Don't look at it. Just, be kind to yourself. Really, I think that's it. And be courageous.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Do you have another song before we bring closure?
Sure. You're up now. I'll finish with something a little bit more upbeat. This is a song that I actually wrote after the incident that happened that I told you about earlier with the blackface. I wrote a song about it. And the song's called Core of Me. And I'm planning to release this one, plug, a little on later this year. So check it out.
Yeah.
Buses, taxis, traffic queues, walking off my brown skin blues, trying hard to heal these wounds. What's a woman to do? Walking by, they just can't see how this is affecting me. It's cutting to the core of me. Oh, I need to get a hold on this. And now I'm spending all my nights. I'm feeling like my soul's not right. Got your excuses, white lies, keep heading for the big bright lights. Walking by, they just can't see how this is affecting me. It's cutting to the core of me. I gotta keep on walking by. Oh, I need to get a hold on this. Yes, I do. And my world, yeah, it's slowly slipping out of my grip. Yes. Oh, I need to get a hold on this. Oh, yes. This issue can't be rectified if you refuse to try. You wanted this to die down and burn out. Oh, and it can't be rectified if you refuse to try. Remain colorblind. 'Cause I'm so tired of buses, taxis, traffic queues, walking off my black girl blues. Yes. What's a woman to do? Walking by, they just can't see how the hell it's affecting me. Yeah, it's cutting to the core of me. I need to get a hold on this. Get a hold, 'cause my world, ooh, it's slowly slipping out of my grip. And my hands, my grasp, oh, I need to get a hold on this.
Wow. You are truly talented. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Much. Oh my goodness. One person said they honestly love the lyrics to that song. Very passionate and it's one beautiful voice. Truly
Thank you so much, Gracie.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for expressing yourself as well as telling your story. I'll always remember I learned something today. I promise you.
Good. I think that's really beautiful that we can connect this way and share our experience as well. As Black women across the pond, it's really lovely to be able to have that connection. So thank you so much for having me and allowing me to be here and share the space.
Yeah, it's an honor. And we're going to have you come back again too. And let us know what you're doing even later on to help you grow and help you develop even as, you know, education, as well as helping your nieces and your daughters, as well as your stepdaughters. What are you doing to help them learn the history in order for them to thrive as women? You know, I look forward to hearing that because I'm excited about the things you told me already. But so I'm excited. I'm thankful for having you on today. Thank you so much
for having me.
Wow.
And it's just been such an honor for me as well.
Wow. And so we're about to bring closure to Raw Stories. It's just been an amazing time today with the amazing Micaiah as well as Tani, just hearing what they do to help themselves thrive as well as help other people thrive. I am so thankful just to be even able to talk to them and hear their stories. I want to thank you as well for taking the time to watch Raw Stories, where we share a true life experience to help you believe anything is possible and also help you thrive regardless of your age or culture or what you are doing in life. I look forward to sharing this time with you on next Tuesday. I'm Dr. Nancia Leath, and I am your host for Raw Stories. Y'all have a good night. God bless.